Hello, Mr. Szijjártó. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. So let me start from asking you about our previous interview earlier this year. In an interview to our channel, you already said that Kazakhstan is a strategic partner of Hungary, and energy sector is one of prioritized in our cooperation. So how do you see the future of this particular cooperation, taking into account Kazakhstan's ambitions in developing nuclear power and renewables on its territory?
Well, we have signed the agreement on establishing strategic cooperation back in 2014. And I think it's not an exaggeration to say that this year has been the most successful among all 9 years since 2014. And I think it's a big success for both of us, given the fact that the world has been undergoing a really challenging period, including the political, economic, and security-related crises all over the world. And the fact that we are so successful this year is mainly based on energy. Mm-hmm. There are 5 points in our energy cooperation which make our relationship really successful. First of all, we are very happy that after 15 long years of preparatory works, the Hungarian oil company, which is the biggest Hungarian company, generally speaking, can start the exploitation of natural gas from the gas field called Rashkovsky, together with the Kazakh and the Chinese partners. This makes MOL the biggest Hungarian investor here in Kazakhstan after investing 200 million euros. And the share of MOL in the exploitation will be around 100 million cubic meters annually speaking. So this is very, very important for us. This can be a flagship of our cooperation. Exploitation will start in December. So finally, after finding the source in 2008, 15 years have gone, and now it is obvious that it was a good decision to stick to the project and not to give it up during that period of time. Second, our efforts to diversify our sources where we buy oil from became successful this year, as we have already bought 630,000 tons of oil from Kazakhstan on a mixed route, land route and maritime route. We are really glad that Kazakhstan is becoming an important partner of ours regarding the oil supply. And this fact shows as well that it has paid off to argue in favor of exempting the oil deliveries from the Caspian region to Europe from the EU sanctions imposed on Russia. The third is nuclear, definitely. I see a huge potential in our nuclear cooperation, given the fact that Hungary has been using nuclear power for more than 4 decades. And we have very positive experience with nuclear power. 1/3 of our electricity consumption has been covered by nuclear. Half of all the electricity which is produced in Hungary is produced by our nuclear power plant. And we are now building 2 new reactor blocks, with which 70% of our electricity demand will be supplied by nuclear. You know, we do consider nuclear as a cheap, sustainable, environmentally friendly, and safe way of generating energy. So if I can give an advice, if I can be brave enough, I would say that Kazakhstan, especially putting into consideration the huge reserves you do have of uranium, you should definitely go for nuclear as well. We can take part in that project, as the first nuclear engineers and experts of Kazakhstan will arrive to Hungary later this year for training and education purposes, based on an agreement we have signed earlier on the education and the training cooperation between Kazakhstan and Hungary. On the other hand, we are participating in the green transition of your city called Taraz, since the Hungarian company is building solar parks there, delivering electric buses, And we also hope that this project will be extended nationwide. And last but not least, the Hungarian state-owned electricity company does have a patent which is unique and successful all over the world, which is a cooling system of power stations, and a cooling system which is dry, so it does not need water. And already 3 power stations in Kazakhstan have been utilizing this dry cooling system, and we hope that it's going to be further extended. So these 5 points show very clearly that the field of energy made us extremely successful this year, and this is the most successful year ever, putting into consideration the history of our bilateral economic cooperation.
We can also say that the partnership is very diversified in terms of
absolutely, you see
cooperating
everything
in energy sector,
involved,
yes, in particular. All right, Prime Minister of Hungary, Viktor Orban, is now paying an official visit to Kazakhstan, and as you mentioned already, Hungary is a major strategic partner of Kazakhstan in the Central European region. So what is on agenda of bilateral meeting with President Tokayev this time?
Look, we would like to see a much tighter cooperation between the European Union and Kazakhstan, as European Union is looking for diversification opportunities when it comes to the safe supply of energy. And we all see that Central Asia can be a reliable and absolutely credible source of diversification. Therefore, since we consider Kazakhstan as a main pillar of the Central Asian region, we do believe that the EU-Kazakhstan cooperation will definitely be able to contribute to this European goal. On the other hand, we would like to base this relationship on very strong people-to-people contact, very strong people-to-people basis. So therefore, today, an agreement has been signed about the extension of the scholarship program. So for the next 3 years, we will receive 250 students from Kazakhstan on Hungarian universities every year, fully financed by the Hungarian state. And we do believe that once these students complete their studies in Hungary, they will serve as promoters or goodwill ambassadors of our bilateral relationship. We were happy to hear that Turkic Universiade is going to be organized here. Hungarian athletes will definitely participate in sport arts of wrestling, judo, and table tennis. And we have also spoken about our cooperation within the United Nations. Hungary is very supportive to all of your initiatives in the United Nations. Among them, the initiative you put forward on rehabilitation of the Semipalatinsk region, which has been burned by the nuclear tests back in those times. So we do believe that an international project should be launched to rehabilitate that region, and we also support your full-fledged membership in the International Atomic Energy Agency. We do believe that your presence there would be very useful from both ends.
Yes, right. And let me ask you one more question about the other side of integration between Hungary and Kazakhstan within the Organization of Turkic States. And you know that Astana will host the 10th anniversary summit tomorrow. So Hungary has an observing status in OTS, but in general, how do you see the process of integration within so-called Turkic world, and what will be the role of Hungary in this organization?
Well, I do believe that the Turkic world has a highly important role nowadays. Nowadays, when there's a very strong willingness on behalf of many Western political leaders to isolate East from West. And we see this as a huge threat, as a huge risk, huge danger. Because if these politicians manage to isolate East from the West, then the world's going to be divided into blocks again. And we Hungarians, since we are located in Central Europe, we know how it feels to live in a world which is divided into blocks. We have done so already, and we have lost a lot on that. And we don't want to lose anymore on such kind of issues. So therefore, we argue in favor of connectivity. We want the next years and decades to be characterized by global connections. Instead of being, split and divided. After the war in Ukraine has broken out, Europe has unfortunately cut the ties of the EU-Russia cooperation. although this cooperation was the basis for a continuous growth of European economy, since the Western technologies were very well combined and successfully combined with the Eastern energy sources. But unfortunately, these ties have been cut, which means that the European economic growth has lost one very important basis. On the other hand, some European politicians are now speaking about entirely isolating the Eastern and Western economies. They usually speak about China. So if this approach wins, then it would be the worst case scenario, or the worst possible
Yes, and we also
scenario.
have an unfolding crisis now in Middle East.
Yeah,
so
sure.
with taking it all into account,
Yeah.
so what will be the role of organizations like Turkic states?
The organization of
promoting
Turkey, can be or should be a bridge between East and West, a very important link in the chain to link together East and West, and do not allow the two to be separated. Look, if we are not able to ensure cooperation between East and West, then we will not be able to tackle all those crises we are going through. So the war in Ukraine, the armed conflict in the Middle East, the increasing global threat of terror, all these could be much more easily managed in case a global cooperation could take place.
Mm-hmm. What should be the role of global leadership in solving these fundamental issues of peace?
Well, if we are not able to bring back the international political cooperation to the basis of mutual respect, we will have a much more limited chance to overcome all these crises. Because currently international politics is about what? Is about judging, lecturing, criticizing each other, right? Humiliating each other. Instead of coming back to the basis of mutual respect. Mutual respect could give the best chance, the best chance for us to be able to overcome all these crises we have been going through. So the global leaders should talk to each other. The global leaders should not shut the doors. The global leaders should not close the channels of communication. I give you one example. During the United Nations General Assembly in New York, I was the only European foreign minister to talk to his Russian counterpart. So my question is, and the same with Belarus, so my question is why we are cutting the channels of communication. If we cut the channels of or if we stuck or we shut or we close the channels of communication, we basically give up the hope for peace. And we don't want that. We don't want that. We all know that peaceful solutions can only come through negotiations. And if you're not able to negotiate with each other, no peaceful solutions will be established.
Right, so we should introduce different platforms for that dialogue to happen.
Absolutely.
Between different countries.
Absolutely, and the Organization of Turkic States
yes.
is a great platform for countries from different parts of the world to talk to each other.
Yes, and how does Hungary see its role in general in promoting economic ties with Central Asia? You answered this question partly, but why is it specifically important in modern geopolitics?
Well, from European perspective,
yes.
I can tell you that that the plan which Europe had regarding the war in Ukraine has failed. What was this plan? This plan was about Ukraine winning, Russia losing, and the Russian leadership in Moscow to be thrown out. Now it's obvious it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So Europe would need another solution, and a plan B. A plan B based on ceasefire, peace talks, peace agreement, and a new European security architecture. A new European security architecture which should be reassuring to Ukraine, should be acceptable to Russia, and should include Turkey, and through Turkey the Turkic world. Because we do believe that without Turkey, without the Turkic world, there's no sustainable European security architecture. In order to have such a sustainable strategy, we need the involvement of Turkey, the Turkic countries, and namely Central Asians. So we cannot isolate ourselves. So security of Europe will never take place, will never be a reality without the security of Central Asia. So therefore, these bonds of cooperation should be much tighter and much stronger in the future.
And if to be back to Kazakh-Hungarian relations, we all know that these two nations, yes, we share some common historical and cultural heritage. So how will this particular fragment influence the nature of our bilateral relations in the future?
Look, you can always have good pragmatic relationship with anyone. It's just a matter of common sense. But if culturally and historically you have something in common, that makes it much easier. And we Hungarians and Kazakhs are definitely relatives, although there are a lot of debates about what happened 1,000 or 1,200 years ago. It's very, very complicated to get any reassuring proof. But what we know that we have common words. For some period of history, we stayed on the same area. We have exchanged a bit heritage and culture, and we had influence on each other. That's obvious. So therefore, when it comes to the Kipchaks, the Kuns, these all have some reasons, right? So therefore, since we have this common basis, it is much easier to build a strategic relationship, because common sense is one thing, but a strong basis supports that. So therefore we stick to this brotherly relationship, brotherly and sisterly relationship, and we would like to further strengthen it in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Szijjártó, for your time, for the interview you gave us and the time you shared with us. Thank you.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thanks.